Thank you for visiting my Animal Crossing island, Stephen King style. I started playing Animal Crossing for the first time ever in the very beginning of the pandemic. Didn't really know what I was doing, didn't know what to name my island, so I called it Good Place because I was watching The Good Place. And given that The Good Place turned out to be the bad place, turned out to be a really appropriate name. So the very start of the video is going to show you a map legend that I made. It's very extensive for my island to help you find all the little extra fun bits of Stephen King on my island. And there's probably more that I've left off because I could only fit so much in the graphic. It also provides a link for you, which I will put in the video description also. And that takes you to my page about my island, which includes a link to a survey of sorts that you can fill out totally anonymously, where you can check off all the stuff you found. When you visit an island through a dream address, you wake up in a bed in the front of resident services. But I had a cool introduction to my island that you only get when you come through the airport, as if you were visiting through a live visit at an island. So I have started my dream at that point. So we first come onto the island and meet our first character, which you may recognize from The Shining, and don't forget to speak to all the human residents of the island because they will all say a catchphrase to you from Stephen King's works. Some from the books, some from the movies, and there's also generally creepy stuff on the island that may or may not specifically be Stephen King, but is just downright creepy. All of the animal resident houses are together in a nice grid to represent a nice normal town, like Derry pretended to be. The adults rarely notice anything that's going on. It's a nice, pretty town to them, with a lot of evil underneath. So then we're going around the island, checking things out. Jaws is actually mentioned in the book, It. And if you look at the shark head coming out of the water carefully, you can tell that it's actually eating a victim. And it's actually a dress that somebody very creatively turned into a shark attack. The first big scene layout you're going to come across really is Misery. The bed, the writer's outfit, the typewriter, the torn up pages, blood, because it's pretty much always blood with Stephen King. Then we see the Ironworks, which is from It, where Mike was attacked by the birds. And then we come across one of the twin girls that Danny Torrance had the unfortunate experience to meet in The Shining. Coming along, checking things out, you can see a little sign showing Georgie's newspaper boat as the SS Georgie. And then we come up to the museum, which of course it's just a museum, but next to it I have put a theater showcasing The Shining and It movies that you can watch along with some very creepy decor. I have put arrows down on the island to kind of help you see the paths you can take, although you can certainly explore anywhere you want. So here we have Christine, the very unfriendly car. Cars are interactive in the island if you haven't figured this out yet. You can also see Pet Cemetery below, and Cujo's down there too. A lot of people didn't recognize the sign for this, but this is the Shawshank Prison. And as we come around the corner here, we have the first sign of the Overlook Hotel. The playground that Danny played in during the snow, the little version of the Overlook Hotel dollhouse. There's a stone well there. I used it for the tunnel that he gets stuck in. Now we're going inside the Overlook Hotel. I skipped all the transitions from room to room, so we're starting upstairs in the bedroom that the Torrances shared. It was a little suite of rooms for the caretaker, and they would have been there for Christmas, but they didn't get much further than October. And we have the bathroom that Wendy tried to get out the window in, at least in Kubrick's film. I read the book frequently, but I have not read it recently. You can see Wendy's outfit in there, the one that Shelley Duvall wore. You can see the Here's Johnny face. And then we have Danny's bedroom with the wasp nest that came back to life after being poisoned. Since we only have so many rooms in the house, I had to combine many things together. So we have the hallway with the twins, we have the elevator with gears behind it representing the sound, and if you look carefully at the elevator in that room, you will see it is very red. And this is because I imported a picture of the blood coming out of the elevator in the Kubrick film. There's also the hose that came to life and scared Danny, and the table where he left his snacks, and the fancy table in the jukebox from the bar that Jack got increasingly drunk on that with some alcohol that did not exist in the hotel. And then of course we have room 217. We couldn't leave this out. So there's a skeleton representing the woman who died in the hotel by suicide, and all the general creepiness there. The water on the floor, the footprints that were left behind. Now, and in the back room we have the office, which the radio was in that Jack Torrance smashes under hallucinatory rage after his father speaks to him. And the famous all work and no play. I had a lot of trouble doing handwriting in this game, but a friend of mine told me it made it even creepier, so I guess it's a win. And there's the masks, and there's the graduation robes. Jack used to teach in a preparatory school. And then of course we have Danny's famous tricycle. And then the basement, where pretty much everything came to a head. Hotel basement, full of crap. Really, it's just, everything is stored down there, including things that shouldn't have been kept. This is where Jack first really starts seeing the ghosts that Danny was seeing in all the rooms. And we have the boiler that Jack forgets to dump, which inevitably and eventually leads to the end of the hotel, unless it gets rebuilt. There's also a kitchen in my Overlook Hotel, where a good bit of the action does happen, but I have elected not to go in it for this video, but it is there. Check it out, especially the floor. If you're interested in how I made the Overlook Hotel look so much bigger than the houses actually provide for, please let me know. Here we have the famous maze from the Kubrick film. It did not exist in the book. There were hedge animals instead that came to life, but my understanding is they couldn't find a good way to do that with the CGI available at the time, so they did a maze. If you let the map in your game that shows up when you stand still too long pop up, you can get an overview of how to get through the maze. You can find all sorts of hidden little treasures available, such as finding Jack Torrance, and I think there's an axe in there somewhere, and blood. And skeletons, and there's also little pitfalls to fall into, and if you haven't experienced pitfalls in the game yet, they are unintentionally hilarious. You'll know you fell into one because you will stop moving, and you will hear this little funny sound that signifies you fell into a hole, and eventually it'll let you go. Then if you come to the middle of the maze, I have a platform there. You can climb up, there's vines, you can climb up on. And it showcases a whole bunch of the different things that are available on this island. And then we also have the representation of Georgie in his rain outfit and galoshes. And if you read the book, for sure, you get a very nice detailed description about it taking his arm off. So there's a little representation of that there too. When you go in and you come out of the maze, you get to see the Red Sox hat for Stephen King. We have the car coming down from the overlook, the gas station that Dick Halloran stopped at on his way up to rescue Wendy and Danny. As we come down here, we see bookcases, and it's hard to tell, but this is a shirt with a harness and a gun attached to it. That's the Book Depository from Texas. If you haven't read 11/22/63 by Stephen King, I highly recommend it, and you will get to see more of that scene later. The little peach things are not specific to Stephen King, of course. They're something weird out of Animal Crossing, but they are particularly creepy. If you close one and open one, a little baby pops out of it. It's just weird. So here we see the scene from 11/22/63. The whole point of the book, really, is would it be possible to go back in time and stop the Kennedy assassination? So here we have the car and Jackie's dress and etc. from that day. In it, the losers, who were actually the good kids, got into a rock fight in the quarry with Henry Bowers and his gang. So that's represented there. We have the masquerade ball from The Shining, which was from many, many years ago. We have signs here that showing it's the Gage Creed Band, and the singers and the conductor, which in the newer version of The Shining film, the conductor or director was Stephen King. Here you run into Jack Torrance again, and when you talk to the human residents, you will hear a little bit of Dire Zire playing, which I was playing in the start of the video and later at the end, and it is the music you will recognize if you have seen the Kubrick version of the film. In the 1990 film It, they show you where, as the losers come back to Derry to try to stop Pennywise again, they discover a graveyard with 7 graves dug by the clown, but one of them is already filled, but they don't. Bill discovers this, but he doesn't know why one grave is already filled. They find out later. In the beginning of the 1990 film, you see Pennywise hidden in a clothesline, where he shortly thereafter eats a child on a tricycle. Here we have where Pennywise came to Earth. If you come up close to the spaceship and interact with it, an alien will descend out of it. When the kids are looking at Mike's photo album, and they see the old-fashioned photos in black and white and sepia, Pennywise in black and white comes to life, races toward them down the street, and tries to grab at them through the photo album. So that's fair. And there you can see the alien. And Pennywise was really more like a big spider, at least represented in the 90 film, so hence the giant crab, as close as I could get. And here we have Carrie's house. The first room is really the main room of this house, where you have the prom scene and the bucket with pig's blood. Carrie's mother was not very understanding, to put it mildly, and as Carrie started to come of age, it went very badly for her. So this is showing that, in some ways she was still a little girl and didn't understand what was going on with her body. And I just tried to keep the house as much with the time period and everything I could. And from what I remember of the film, which I hadn't seen in a while, I know there was a lot of candles and the father was religious. And friends who have seen the film a lot more said it was pretty accurate. And then I just put, some good amount of evil in the basement and creepiness, because the evil always seems to come up from underneath, be it the sewer or what. So here we have the Derry Public Library. There are multiple rooms in here. They are all fleshed out and decorated, but I'm just going to show you some of the main parts. So when the losers as adults all come back against Pennywise, they gather in the library. This was represented in the 1990 film. There's tons of balloons that come out of the fridge, and there is Stan Uris's head inside the fridge. And then I've made this room in the library that has really creepy pop-up books because it's Derry. You can see the train back there from Stand By Me. And here we have, this house has multiple things inside of it, because if you put lots and lots of houses on your island, the game gets really slow. So first we have Al's Diner from 11/22/63, but we'll come back to that. We're going to go upstairs first and visit Needful Things, which is its own book that I highly recommend. And in here I have just showcased an antique shop and tried to represent a number of the things that showed up in the book that caused problems. Like Elvis the sunglasses, a picture of Elvis, a foxtail, golf clubs, carnival glass, a baseball card that was supposed to be an amazing player but turned out to be nobody. We have a bar in the basement where Jack Torrance kept wanting to go when he went into town in The Shining. Sort of a normal looking bar, except the wine bottles have it and also a skull and crossbones on them. There was the doctor's office that Wendy takes Danny to before the snow starts. And it was supposed to be just a nice regular doctor's office. So this is one of the few places in the game that just looks like a nice place to be. Not creepy. And then we have Al's Diner. And in the back of Al's Diner there is a passageway to the past. So that's represented here by the Mario pipes that you're actually interactive. So when you jump in the pipe, you end up back either in or above the scene from 11/22/63 for the Kennedy assassination. Sometimes the pipe will drop you on the floor, sometimes it'll drop you above. If you go back behind the Overlook Hotel, you're going to find the Torrance house. This is from when they lived in Vermont, and it's very basic. Jack was a teacher there. He wasn't sober at the time. He did beat up a student, which is why he was looking for another job, and it's how they ended up at the Overlook. Now as we come back around, go down the stairs we skipped earlier, and this is behind Al's Diner, and we have 21 Newbold Street, which was a house in complete disarray, disrepair. The losers interact with Pennywise here when they're kids, and this house is just completely falling apart, but it is indicated that this is a place where Pennywise is easily able to come up through the sewers without being detected. So this house is just full of destruction and full of evil. In the 90 film, Henry Bowers is in a mental hospital, and he sees the face of Pennywise in the moon. There's still at least one more human resident we have not come across. Let's see if we can find him. Sometimes they will all be out during a dream. Ah, here we go. Here is Mike Canlon. Let's come back, Beverly. So he is the one of the 7 losers who does not leave Derry. He grows up there. He never forgets. They all forget Derry, and they forget Mike until he calls them to tell them it's come back. He's a photographer. He works in the library, and he knows way more about Derry's history than anybody else. And when he tries to share with the adults, they stop him from sharing. And so just, remember that this island is a combination of book and film. I did not use anything from the newest It film. I tried to have a lot of flowers because, as I said before, the adults see the area as this nice, beautiful place. They really don't see the evil. If they do, they ignore it. There's roses for the Dark Tower series. And then at the very end, before you leave, you can check out my designs and take some of them with you. I hope you've had a nice dream, probably more like a nightmare, and it's time to go home. Dies Irae is literally Day of Wrath. It's the opening words of a Latin hymn on the Last Judgment ascribed to Thomas of Saleno, and once forming part of the Office for the Dead and Requiem Mass. And it was played by me on my piano, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.